And we're back, everyone. We're looking at spoilers. We're at Ministrant of Obligation here. A 2/1 for 3 mana. It doesn't have flying, it doesn't have anything except for Afterlife 2. So it's a really shitty creature, but Afterlife 2 gives it some viability. It gets better basically when you kill it. And that's the type of creature which I talked about earlier. There was a sacrifice creature. Sacrifice something. You get 2 black. Your opponent sacrifices something. He loses 2 life, and you draw 1 card. It was like 1,000 upsides with that card. It seems like a good thing to sacrifice to that. But other than that, it's kind of shit. To get something that you want out of this, you need it to die, so no, unless you've got a plan for this, a sacrifice plan, I don't think this will be played. Oars of Racketeers. Whenever Oars of Racketeers deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card. That's pretty nice. 5 mana though. 4 colorless, 1 black. Afterlife 2. Yeah, if this had costed like 3, and then maybe, I think it would even have been overcosted at 4 even, so no, I don't see it. Too much mana. Syndicate Guildmage. Tap target creature with power 4 or greater. Yeah, this already existed on another Guildmage for 1 red, 1 colorless, and it wasn't really that good on that creature. It has another ability though. 1 black, 4 colorless. Syndicate Guildmage deals 2 damage to target opponent or player. That's too much mana. I think. Nope, I don't see it. Why aren't you attacking? Like, I guess if someone is clogging up the board with stuff, you can get in that last 2 damage with your Guildmage. No. No. It's better to try winning on board instead of planning to lose from the beginning, I think. Galloping Lizrog. 3 colorless, 1 green, 1 blue. I really like frogs, so would love to see an awesome frog at some point. Trample. Whenever Lizrog enters the battlefield, you may remove any number of +1/+1 counters from among creatures you control. If you do, put twice that many +1/+1 counters on Galloping Lizrog. So it has Trample. That's good. Whatever you remove from, you gain twice that back. So let's say, like maybe best case, you've had 2 creatures out with Explore. So you got maybe 3 counters there. So let's say you have 3 counters on 3 creatures, then this becomes a +6/+6, so a 9/9 trample, and your other creatures get nerfed. 9/9 trample is fine, but dies to all the removal in the world. If you compare, this is 1 mana of Niv Mizzet. This is the same mana as Tesseret. Teferi, I mean. Like, what if your opponent drops down Teferi next turn, and you've gimped your entire army already? What if it drops down, you miss it, and you're dead anyway? Unless there's some way of super easily gaining a lot of counters really quick on some creatures. Maybe there's like a combo where there's like a defender creature which can super easily gain counters or something, and then you just use that defender creature to pump this. I don't know. It's the same thing as always. Unless there's a combo, this won't work. Yeah, moving on. Sadly, I don't think it will work. Combine Guildmage. It's a Simic Gilmage, so green-blue. And it can use 1 colorless, 1 green. This turn, each creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. Okay, so you're gonna tap your creature, you're gonna pay 2, and you're gonna play creatures. You won't have much mana left to play your creatures if you're tapping that much. Would have been great if this was a free ability, I think. But as it stands, no, I don't see that ability being super useful. 1 blue, 1 colorless. Move a +1/+1 counter from target creature you control onto another target creature you control. Now here's some combo potential. So the obvious combo, of course, is there was the green, 1 green, 1 colorless. If it has a +1/+1 counter on it, you gain 3 mana. So this could move something onto there. It also combos with adapt. So yeah, this is a combo enabler, I guess. It's just too weak, I think, to play it unless you have some combo with this. So if you can find a combo that's strong enough for this to use, then it's fine that it dies to shock and every removal in the game and doesn't do anything when it comes into play. Otherwise, no, it's trash. Skatewing Spy. 3 colorless, 1 blue. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has flying. Why doesn't this have flying? Okay. 5 colorless, 1 blue, adapt 2. That's low. I guess the game's flying. So it's a 4/5 flying for is this 10 mana? Oh no. I think they should have pushed the power level on adapt, or at least on the cards that I've seen so far. I don't get why adapt is so weak. Why couldn't it be adapt 4 or something here? Why is it adapt 2? Wouldn't it be broken with adapt 4? I don't know. I think this might be like balanced around limited, and I don't really like when they balance around limited. I think limited should more be like something that happens, like every card they should try to make every card good in some circumstance, so that they fit into both constructed and limited. I think the mistake they're doing with a card like this is that they're probably balancing, oh, this would be, amazing in the limited environment, and for some reason they're like, okay, so this is the limited environment and this is the constructed environment, and try to print 2 different games in one booster pack. I don't really like that. I think they should try to push the power level even on limited. I think that would just make limited more fun. I don't know, I'm not a limited player, so who am I to talk? Moving on. Trollbred Guardian. 4 colorless, 1 green. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample. So it's a 5/5 for 5. It's decent. Not good. Adapt 2. It's pretty cheap. 2 colorless, 1 green. It's again a limited card, I think. If it would have been 3 colorless, 1 green, then maybe giving all your branch walkers and whatever trample so that they actually get in for damage and not get jumped blocked all day. But as it stands, no, doesn't work. Moving on. Unbreakable Formation. Creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. That's good. Addendum. If you cast this spell during your main phase, put a +1/+1 counter on each of those creatures and they gain vigilance until end of turn. Okay, so it's 2 colorless, 1 white, instant. Cast it during your main phase, so you can't cast it during your attackers then, when you would most probably want to play this. But they gain vigilance. Actually not that bad. I wouldn't run, you know, 4 of this, but I can actually see like a Boros deck running a singleton of Unbreakable formation. If you get enough creatures on the board, holding this up could be amazing, and also putting +1/+1 counters on your troops is something you want to do in that deck. So if you feel safe, if your opponent is tapped out, and you need that extra damage, you can go for that. So in a Boros deck, I don't think this Azorius Guild here, I don't think it will be used in that deck. I think it will be used with heroic reinforcements and stuff like that. Probably a 1-of. Maybe 2. Is it even that good? +1/+1 counters though is good. If you have a lot of tokens, History of Benalias, maybe 2-of. I don't know. It's still, in most cases, just worse than heroic reinforcements. But sometimes, and it's a very complete, it's a different effect. Gaining indestructible is, you know, having an assurance that you're against board wipe, basically. So, of course, it doesn't work versus Settle the Wreckage. Would have been great if Addendum had, like you had this effect here, creatures you control gain indestructible. Addendum, if you cast this spell during your main phase, put a +1/+1 counter on each of those creatures, and instead of vigilance, and you can't be the target of spells or abilities this turn, then you couldn't be Settle the Wreckage, so then you could like avoid 2 removals with 1 formation. As it stands though, it only protects you against 1. I will see. With the new white-black destroy all creatures spell, it might make Settle the Wreckage less played, so this might get more relevant. We'll see. Moving on. Burning Bright. 2 colorless, 1 red. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until the end of turn. Yeah, this is another card which fits perfectly into, you know, heroic reinforcements kind of deck. +2/+0 is really good. It's well costed, actually really good for a common. It's almost a card I would expect to see as an uncommon. Don't gain any toughness, but that could be fine. You're just going for damage anyway. Yeah, might see play. I don't know how many, maybe 1-of, maybe 2-of. Heroic reinforcements or something like that would be the best use for this. I don't think it would be used in mono red, since you probably have like 1 or 2 creatures out, so no. Won't gain enough for this. You have, I know, you know, paying, now that I have a shit ton of lightning bolts with a new one, with a new spectacle lightning bolt as well. For 3 mana you can gain 9 damage, you know. You're not gonna go down to maybe 4 damage with an effect like this for 3 mana. Gyre Engineer. 1 colorless, 1 green, 1 blue. Add 1 green, 1 blue. So this is the first reliable get 2 mana for 3 mana spell that we've seen. It's on the shittiest body you could ever imagine. 1/1. It dies to everything. It dies tripping over itself. Yeah, this is real risky running out. Dies to Chain Whirler, dies to, you know, Plague Mare, fungal infections. If this would have been a 1/2, I would have been happy with this. 1/1. I mean, it's a ramp deck, so, but it's so easy to kill this. You might even like accidentally kill this off. It might be like, oh, I would have, you know, run out my Chain Whirler anyway, and you're just adding Gyre Engineers to your board. Thank you. Might get played. I still think the get 3 mana, even though you need to add plus counters on it to make it work, will be more played than this. But maybe. Maybe I doubt it, is what I say about this card with that kind of stat line. Sorrowform Hybrid. 1 green, 1 colorless. A 2/2, so it's a bear. You can adapt 4. That's a lot of adapt. Green, green, 4 colorless. Yeah, it's fine as a bear and it's fine when you adapt it, but it's not amazing in any way, so it's not constructed, it's made for limited. Moving on. Gruul Beastmaster. 3 colorless, 1 green, Riot. This creature enters the battlefield with your choice of a +1/+1 counter or haste. Okay, whenever Gruul Beastmaster attacks, another creature you control gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is Gruul Beastmaster's power. Okay, so you kind of want the counter and want the haste. If you don't get the haste, it's shitty, and if you don't get the counter, it's shitty. No. Like, if you think about there's a white card which gives something +2/+0 and first strike for 2 mana in white, and this costs 4? No. No. No way. Savage Smash. 1 colorless, 1 red, 1 green. Target creature you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. It fights target creature you don't control. Getting +2/+2 on something that fights is real nice. It's really hard fighting something, I realized. All the fight cards. The problem with fight is either you're fighting with something big on your board and you want to fight it to have, fight something big. Else you're not gaining value out of your fight. So, but the problem with that then is that you leave your big creature vulnerable to any damaging spell. Okay, you just kill it with a shock. So this gives it +2/+2. So even small creatures can fight something. That being said, it costs 3 mana, which probably means you're using your entire turn to kill something. But you gain that +2/+2. It's not impossible that this sees play. I think we have a better fight spell, that's a problem. Which is lower costed. It's not even fight. It's just it deals damage equal to its power. The only time this would be used over that would probably be if you have a lot of small creatures. So that small creatures actually can kill something. Oh, it's not impossible that this sees play, but it's unlikely. Rakdos Roustabout. What is that word? Roustabout? Roostabout? Anyways, 1 colorless, 1 black, 1 red. Whenever Rakdos Roostabout becomes blocked, it deals 1 damage to the player or planeswalker it's attacking. Yeah, Spectacle Enabler on a shitty body. No, this is just limited again. As I said in my previous video, I'm not going to, comment on limited viability or commander viability because I don't play those formats, so I don't know. I don't know, and I don't care, sadly. Hackrobat. Oh, what a pun. 1 colorless, 1 black, 1 red. Spectacle. 1 black, 1 red. 2/3. So 2/3 for 3 is horrible. 1 black gains Death Touch, 1 red gets +2/-2. So it can either deal damage or it can kill something. You can play it for 2. If you play it for 2, it's half horrible. The problem is that you couldn't have Death Touch to begin with. Why do you need to pay for it? The problem with this is in aggressive decks you don't want to waste mana on shitty abilities unless they buff like this. Like the red ability I think is fine. If you're buffing this, you can buff this 2 times, get it up to 6. That's a lot. If it's unblocked. But the black ability just... You don't want to have to pay for that. This might see... That being said though, being able to buff... Oh, it's plus... I thought it was -1. It's -2. You can just buff it once. And then it has 1 toughness. That's horrible. It's a horrible card. Moving on. Mesmerizing Benthid. 3 colorless, 2 blue. When Mesmerizing Benthid enters the battlefield, create 2 0/2 blue illusion creature tokens with whenever this creature blocks a creature, that creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Mesmerizing Benthid has hexproof as long as you control an illusion. So I really think they should add a keyword, which is sleep, because they always refer to it as sleep on the card names anyway, so it could just be create 2 blue illusion creature tokens with whenever this creature blocks a creature, that creature gets slapped. That would be so much easier. Anyways, about the card. 4/5 for 5 without any evasion is horrible. But it has hexproof. Hexproof is really strong. Even this kind of conditional hexproof, because you kind of need to do 2 things. You need to remove 2 0/2, so it's not 0/1, so it doesn't, you know, it's not getting removed by everything. So that's really good. The blue illusion tokens are not just derp tokens who doesn't do anything, they actually sleep. So against aggressive decks, so hexproof is most useful against control decks. The blue illusion tokens are most useful against aggressive decks. So it kind of counters both things. It's good against aggro, it's good against control. That's usually a good thing. Yeah, against most aggro decks this will just have hexproof, because they will never get rid of those. If you're a control deck, you will never get rid of the 0/2 blue illusion tokens without also getting rid of the mesmerizing Benthid. Yeah, this dodges a lot of removal with that kind of hexproof. So the question is, do you need a hexproofer in blue? We already have 2 really good hexproofers in what's it called? Vinemere, I think it's called, and Carnage Tyrant. Does blue want it? If you play this, you're probably playing some kind of you know, aura or buffing or some way to, you know, get advantage of that hexproof. Yeah, in the right deck, this is a good card. It's good against control. It's good against aggro. It puts 2 bodies on the board. It can't be, you know, compared to the other hexproof creatures, which are very vulnerable to the Eldest Reborn. This is not, because you can just sacrifice 1 token, so you need 3 Eldest Reborn to kill this off. Yeah, I would actually say this is good. This is good. It's a good card. I just don't know which deck that wants it. Currently there's no deck that wants it, but it's a strong card. It's good. Just needs to find its deck. That's what I think. Moving on. Kaya's Wrath. 2 white, 2 black. Destroy all creatures. You gain life equal to the number of creatures you control that were destroyed this way. Okay, this is just an upgraded Wrath with actually a nice upside, because usually when you're wrathing your board, it's because you're losing out on board and you're getting attacked by you know, an aggro player. So gaining life is something you really want. It's only 1 though per each creature. So you're probably gaining like 2 or 3 life, but that's fine. It's really aggressively costed at 4 mana total. Yeah, this will see play. Like, without a doubt, this will be played. You will see this again and again and again and again and again and again. Yeah. This is good. Moving on. Domri Chaosbringer. 2 colorless, 1 red, 1 green. Add 1 red or 1 green. If that mana is spent on a spell, it gains Riot. Okay. That doesn't seem awfully good. I guess if you're playing this, you're playing in a deck that's winning on board anyway. If you're playing Gruul and you're not winning on board, then you're not probably playing Gruul right. I guess. So that's the ability you want to use on your second turn, I guess. You first want to lead off with the other ability, I guess. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal up to 2 creature cards from among them and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order, in a random order. Okay, so I guess this is for a deck which almost exclusively runs creatures and Domri Chaosbringer. Because if you run anything else, you're not gonna get those creature cards, most likely. You're most likely going to have at least 20 lands in your deck. So out of the top 4 cards, 1 or 2 will be lands. So the only way of the other cards being creatures is if you if you play exclusively creatures, except for Domri, which is not a creature. So you're most likely getting, in a normal deck, you're most likely getting 1 to 0 creatures on your top 4 cards. If you're exceptionally lucky, you'll be getting 2, but you could probably get, calculate the math average of this to like 1.3 creatures or something. So it's a little bit more value than getting 1 creature. Okay, so let's say you played out creatures turn 1, turn 2 and turn 3 probably in Gruul. Turn 4 you drop this. You look at the top 4 cards. Probably you're not using the Riot ability since you probably don't have a 1-drop on turn 4 that you want to play out. Oh, sneeze incoming. Wow, no, I'm fine. You put this out. You get a creature in hand. So far this has just replaced itself for a creature. It hasn't done anything, really. It's just replaced itself for a creature in your hand. Which is kind of, a random creature. It's probably not the creature that you really wanted. Maybe it is. Anyways, next turn, whatever creature you drew, you can give it Riot, which is strong. And it buffs. So if it's a 6 costing mana creature, you can give it, add, next turn you have 5 mana, you add 1 mana, so you get 6 mana and give it Riot, which is really good. Really, really strong. This just seems so volatile. Like, you could get a really good play out of this, and you could get... The problem with this is, it would be great as something which, curves you out to a 6-drop or something. But you're probably... If you play this, you need to be winning on board, because else you can't go -3, because this will just get killed. So then it's just shit. So you need to be winning on board, which means you need to have a lot of 1 and 2 and 3 mana costing creatures in your deck. So you're most likely drawing into one of those creatures. And on a 1 mana creature gaining haste on turn 5, I don't know. There's a better, like, if you want Riot and everything, there's I've already seen there's a spoiled green red. Oh, we'll get to that. Anyways. Yeah, I think I think it's hard to create a deck where this is good. That's where I'm going with this. It can be amazing, but it's so unlikely that you're gonna get the card that you actually want, your 6-drop here, 2 6-drops or something here, or I don't know, 2-drop and a 4-drop or something, and next turn this is going to be alive and you're gonna play it. Like, you have to think your opponent is trying to mess with your board every turn with everything he's got. So I mean, planeswalkers are hard to interact with, and so that's a real big plus. And also Gruul doesn't have any problems winning on board, so it doesn't have any problems defending this. But I would love to see something more that's good for small creatures. Maybe if you could gain 2 mana here, and it could only be used for creatures with the converted mana cost 4 or less or something, 3 or less. Then you could, get 2 creatures, and you could give, both creatures Riot or something. And Gruul already has Riot on most creatures that I've seen, so what do you even want to add Riot to that doesn't even also have it? I don't think you can gain Riot twice. I don't know. I don't think that's how it works. So yeah, I'm a bit skeptical that this will find a home. It requires a very specific deck. Theater of Horrors. 1 colorless, 1 black. Excuse me. 1 red. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. During your turn, if an opponent lost life this turn, you may play cards exiled with Theater of Horrors. If an opponent lost turn life, okay, so that's, you can enable this every turn. 3 colorless, 1 red. Theater of Horrors deals 1 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. Yeah, so it can enable itself. If you have multiple of these, it works. During your turn, if models you may play cards exiled with Theater of Horrors. This seems amazingly good, the way I'm seeing it. It's super easy to enable this. Isn't this... you'll have to calculate... if you compare this to Experimental Frenzy. Experimental Frenzy, you can play anything off the top. It doesn't require an enabler. It costs 4, so that's 1 more. But every third card will be a land. But the first land you can play from the top, because you haven't played a land. So you're getting through most probably 4 cards. If you have enough mana, you're going to get through 4 cards before you get to the second land. So that gives you 4 cards per turn, but you can't play stuff from your hand, which is a big downside. This, you can play stuff from your hand, and you can play exiled cards. And even if you somehow failed, it stacks up, it keeps exiling things, and if you at some point get that damage off, you can just release everything. Yeah, this is a good card. It's not that hard to enable. I don't know what more to say. I will have to try brewing something around this. Thinking, what would you even... It's so aggressively costed at 3 that the problem with this is you're stopping your aggression, so you're most probably not playing it at 3, right? Because if you're an aggressive deck, 3 is one of your most important drops, so you're stopping 1 turn to drop this down, essentially do nothing that turn. So that's a big no-no, because you don't want to lose out on board. So you're probably not playing it on that turn. You're playing it when your hand is essentially empty. Pretty much like what you're doing with the Experimental Frenzy, I guess. And then next turn... It seems worse than Experimental Frenzy in that kind of deck. I guess the only deck... If you're not going for... This could be played in a deck that's not going for, you know, only phase, only burn spells. Because in that deck, I think Experimental Frenzy is just better as it stands. But it could be used in other decks, which are more either mid-rangey or control-y even. Because it's not that difficult to enable, you know... you could have any shitty creature or any... there's discard cards which, you know... the opponent loses life. There's so many ways to enable this. So, yeah, I think for the red decks that burn, we already have a better card. But for other decks, maybe, do you want Experimental Frenzy and Theatre of Horrors? Can run them both. You just can't. Didn't even consider that. Probably not. Yeah, we'll see. I think, as it stands, Experimental Frenzy is better than this, but you can run both. So, we'll see in how many of each you'll run, maybe. It might be played outside of those archetypes, because it's so easy to enable. We'll see. Essence Capture. 2 blue. Counter target creature spell. Put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature you control. So this is an upgraded Essence Gather for anything that has creatures. And a lot of spells which actually cares to run Essence Gather. Not all. Jeskai wouldn't run this. It's just worse for them because they don't have any creatures ever. Mono Blue Control always has creatures, so it's always better for them. Strict upgrade. Other things like Merfolk and your own brew maybe could want this. Yeah, good card. Good card, just, you know, strict upgrade from Essence Gather if you have the mana. Sphinx of the New Prav. 2 white, 2 blue, Flying Vigilance. Spells your opponent cast a target Sphinx of New Prav cost 2 more to cast. So it's a... where have we seen this before? Was a green 6/6 creature. Your opponent can pay 2 to remove its hexproof. Very similar to that. This is a shittier body. 4/3, 4/4 is not that great. Dies to everything. The removal that kills it usually costs 2 anyway, so your opponent probably has the mana to kill this anyway. The only redeeming factor is that your opponent has to waste all his mana to kill this. But then, on the other hand, if your opponent has a board out, he probably has more than 3 power on this creature. So he's attacking in. So you either have to not block with this and go on the offensive, which you don't want to do in Azorius. No. If this was like a 4/6 or something, then sure. But a 4/3, no. Moving on. Silhana Wayfinder. When Silhana Wayfinder enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or land from among them and put it on top of your library. Put the rest on the bottom of your library and in a random order, okay? Random order, so you have to shuffle it. Doesn't matter. Reveal a creature or land. Top 4 cards, that's not many cards at all. And you don't get into your hand. And it's a shitty body. No, that's just crap. Next card. Light up the stage. 2 colorless, 2 red. Spectacle 1 red. Exile the top 2 cards of your library. Until end of your next turn, you may play those cards. So it's a Spectacle red. 1 red. This means that you won't be playing it on your first turn, of course. The first option for playing this is your second turn. The top 2 cards. One will likely be a land. We have to that in mind. So, but it's nice playing a land from your top. But if you first enable Spectacle, let's say you play a lightning bolt to face or whatever, shock to face, then you Spectacle. Then you can't play that land, but you can't play that land next turn. So that's not too big of a deal, because it's until the end of your next turn. The other card on top will most likely be very low costed, so you're most likely going to be able to play that. So next turn you can use both the things that you enabled with Spectacle. Yeah, that is good. It's good. This can even be run in things which are not... If it's a low-costed deck, this can be run in something that isn't, you know, burn face, because it's so aggressively costed and it's so easy to enable. That's, I think, true with everything that's a Spectacle. In my opinion, it's not limited at all to burn or, you know, the typical red archetype. This can be run in any deck, unless it's, you know, Jeskai Control, which has no ways to enable Spectacle. But any normal deck basically can run Spectacle, in my opinion. You have to, of course, think a little bit about this, but you have to be reasonable. But any deck within reason can run Spectacle, and it would work. Nikia of the Old Ways. 3 colorless, 1 red, 1 green. You can't cast non-creature spells. That's shit. Whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana of any type that land produced. So it doubles your mana for 5 mana. Seems like this guy is a bit late to the party, in my opinion. When you're already at 5, what would you want to play for 10? What are you going with? Omniscience? I don't know. For 10 mana? What do you need all that mana for? There's nothing... That's a problem with getting a lot of mana, I think, in Standard. There's nothing really good to ramp into. There's nothing that doesn't get 1 for 1. You know, Niv miss it, but you can play it next turn anyway. Draw 7 cards, I guess. But you can't cast non-creature spells, so what creature would you even... No. There's no creature. When you're at 5 mana, you most probably played out everything in your hand except maybe this and whatever big creature you're holding. And that creature, as I've seen all the creature in Standard, none of them are worth, you know, reanimating or anything, because the opponent can just 1 for 1 it with any removal. So, no. This won't work, because there's nothing to play. If they print something that you really want to play with this, then this will work, of course. But that's true for anything. If you print a combo card for anything, it will work. But as it stands in Standard, it won't. It won't. I'm sorry. Drill bit. 2 colorless, 1 black. Spectacle 1 black. Target player reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. That player discards that card. So it's shit for its original mana cost, but it's really good for its Spectacle. You need something to enable this. The problem with this card is that you always want to run it out on turn 1. You don't want to wait to turn 3. Maybe he doesn't even have cards in his hand by then. Yeah, but you can run it out on turn 2. On turn 2 it's decent. On turn 2 it's really decent. It's decent. It's not amazing. It's decent. That's what I would give Drill Bit. Decent card, not amazing. Rakdos Firewheeler. 2 black, 2 red. Rakdos Firewheeler enters the battlefield. It deals 2 damage to target opponent and 2 damage to up to 1 target creature or planeswalker. Excuse me. Little beverage break there. 2 damage to target opponent, 2 damage to creature or planeswalker. So it deals 4 damage in total. 1 has to go to the opponent. That's too bad that you can't put it on a creature. And 2 damage of planeswalker. 2 damage of planeswalker doesn't kill any planeswalker. Unless his name is Dovin. Which we'll see soon. I've already seen that card, as I said earlier. 2 target damage to your opponent is not amazing for a 4-drop, and it's a shitty body, no evasion. No, it's a limited card. Moving on. Mortify. 1 colorless, 1 white, 1 black. Destroy target creature or enchantment. Yeah, Mortify. We've seen this card before. It's great. What can I say? Black has always had the problem that it can't deal with enchantments. And if you're able to splash white, you can now deal with the 2... Except for Planeswalker. If this had creature, enchantment, or Planeswalker, you would never need another removal. Like you would have it all. Maybe exile. If it's like exile creature, enchantment, or Planeswalker. Yep, there you have the best removal ever. Of course it's a worse Vindicate. But Vindicate will never be reprinted, so yeah, great card. We'll see play. Moving on. Growth Spiral. 1 green, 1 blue. Draw a card. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. That's great. That's great ramping. Draw a card. So it replaces itself. It doesn't cost anything. It ramps you. Yeah, just play this card in any Simic deck and it's great if you want to ramp. You're losing tempo, which you don't care about anyways. Like, think about the alternative for, like, you can play a Mana Dork, which just gets killed. The opponent has the option to kill it, or you can play this. You'll probably have, 27 lands or something in a, if you're playing a card like this. So you're going to put down a land every time. It's going to ramp you, and there's a lot of good 4-drops that you want to ramp into. Yeah, just an amazing card. I'm so surprised they didn't put like a rare on this or something. Common, that's really nice. Really nice for you free-to-players out there on MTG Arena. Variety Circle. 2 colorless, 1 blue. Whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, if it isn't being declared as an attacker, you may draw a card. So if you have a sleep effect, basically all your sleeps draw cards. There are creatures that sleep. Those are mostly merfolks, and the cards sleep. And I guess Convoke cards can't... You wouldn't want to play those with this out. Seems like sideboard tech. There's too few cards which has this ability, so... Yep. Sideboard it is. Moving on. Humongulous. 4 colorless, 1 blue. 2/5 hexproof. Hexproof is great. 2/5 is so bad it will never be played. Moving on. Grasping Thrall. 3 colorless, 1 white, 1 black. Flying. When Grasping Thrall enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to each opponent and you gain 2 life. Yeah, horrible. Moving on. Angelic Exaltation. 3 colorless, 1 white. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. That's decent. You gain the toughness. The toughness part that you gain that is very rare. Usually on these kinds of cards, they restrict you from that. 4 mana though. It's a bit high. But... maybe you played out a lot of tokens and you want to get in some kind of small creature strategy. This could work. It also works in multiples, funnily enough, because this effect just stacks twice. So yeah, I could see this being played actually. It's not the problem with this card is that it doesn't do anything versus control decks which don't have creatures out, because then you can just attack with every creature anyway. So maybe if you have a lot of small creatures and you have a way to discard this, maybe and draw some other cards so that you can only play this when you need it. I don't know, I'm thinking like mono blue, the mono blue deck splashing white for this maybe, and some, you know, unblockable merfolks getting in or something like that. Could work, not really sold on this card, but it could definitely work in the right deck, I think. Burning Tree Vandal. 2 colorless, 1 red. Riot. Riot is great. Whenever Burning Tree Vandal attacks, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. It would have been much better if it just said discard a card, then draw a card, because then this would work with an empty hand. As it stands, it doesn't, so it's shit. Moving on. Titanic Brawl. 1 colorless, 1 green. This spell costs 1 less to cast if it targets a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Okay, so it costs 1 green then. Target player you control fights. Target creature you control fights. Target creature you don't control. So we already have this effect, and it doesn't require you. There's already a fight, but it's not an instant though. Instant is much better. Guessing if Simic wants fight spells, but Simic already has better spells, I think. I think this is limited. Limited or special use case. I would guess limited. Moving on. Quench. 1 colorless, 1 blue. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 2. This is a shitty mana leak. But I guess in standard, we don't have high standards, so Quench would probably work. In a lot of cases, it's better in Teferi decks, I guess, than something like Negate and Essence Scatter. But sometimes it isn't. I mean, you can mix, you can have like, you know, I don't know, 1 Spell Pierce, 1 Essence Scatter, 1 Negate, 1 Quench or something to have like all the removals and then, you know, your normal counter spells. Could work. Yeah, definitely see play. I don't know in what quantities you want this in your deck. Moving on.